Hey friends, so you're looking for the best tuna lures of 2024, and that is what we are ready to talk about. I am with the man himself, Jimmy Hillsman, the owner of Oceans East here in Nags Head, North Carolina. And man, I tell you what, the tunas are here and people are asking about the best baits, best lures. And so let's talk about it, man. I'm excited about this one, buddy. Let's look at each one of these, talk about why you like it, just what you're seeing, what you're hearing about each one of these that you chose. Because there's a lot of baits here. You chose 5.
Yep. It was hard to narrow it down to 5. Yeah, I like all types of stuff, but I feel like these are, kind of 5 different things.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's talk about each one. Let's start with this one right here, which is the DTX, the Nomad DTX Minnow. Did I say that the right way?
Yes, you did.
All right. What's the deal with this guy here?
So they make a couple different sizes, but around here, yellowfin fishing, I like the 200 or the 220.
Okay.
I use this thing days that, say I'm marking the tunas 20, 30 fathoms, a little bit too deep to get like a top water trolling bite.
Yeah.
So I'll troll these and get them down in their face and you can get bites out of them. Or days, say the water's nasty, dirtier water, and they need to get something down in their face to get a bite, where they're not as aggressive coming up, hitting the stuff on top.
With these, they have that motion. Whenever they have that big bill on it, they have that motion that goes up and down.
Oh yeah, it gets it down tuned with that bill, and it's got that side to side, just kind of wiggle. One thing nice about Nomad, you can get on, there's charts that you can find they'll show you how deep it's actually fishing, because a lot of times it's hard for people to judge. Well, I'm getting my marks at 30 fathoms, how deep is it actually going? And also, the Bomber CD30.
Okay.
And same thing, there's a chart online and it'll show you exactly how deep it's going.
Did you find there was a depth that you wanted it to be?
It varied every day. It really, with me, I look at where I'm getting my marks.
Got it.
And then that tells me how far back I want to put it, which makes it go deeper the farther back I put it.
Right.
And so I just kind of judge on my marks. Nomad does a lot of advertising. You see it all over Facebook, all over Instagram, all over, online. But hardly anybody talks about the CD30. It's a little bit cheaper than the Nomad.
Okay.
And actually, this is probably my favorite deep diving plug out there. I've caught, good gosh, the amount of yellowfins and big eyes I've caught on this. And a lot of times with my big eyes, this would start my whams. You'd be trolling lazy big eyes, not getting any bites. They'd hit this, and then they go up and hit your topwater baits after one committed to this bait. So it's like
That's really interesting.
It kind of started everything.
And for those that don't know, a wham is when all your lines go down, which is probably the greatest feeling you can possibly have when you're out shore. Did you run one of these deep diving plugs all the time, or only when you really felt like the top water wasn't giving you enough?
Certain situations, like the other one, if my marks are deep, sometimes when I knew that there was a lot of big eye marks around, I put that thing out, because a lot of times that's a starter and it starts the rest of it.
I guess especially if you're going over marks and not getting hit.
Yep, that too. A lot of times I'm like, all right, guys, let's try something to get it going. But this thing is great. I love it. And not many people really fish it, to be honest with you, anymore. A few years back, it was a flurry. Some guys around here started catching fish on it, but I think they've forgotten about it. But it
works.
Oh my gosh.
So the CD30.
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. Yep. So tell us about this guy right here.
So this thing is Nomad Mad Max. It became really hot about, I guess it was summer before last, in the West Coast. Out there, those guys were having trouble catching those big bluefins out there. They were flying kites and catching some with artificial flying fish on kites. Well, then they started pulling this thing and catching the heck out of bluefins, primarily over there on this. And then now, guys use it for yellowfins over here, using it for wahoos. A lot of different things they're catching on this now.
So we've got yellowfin, we've got wahoo. It's heavy. So I guess
it gets it down. Doesn't have a lip on it, but it's heavy, so it gets it down and pulls it through the water at a higher speed. One thing I will say that I didn't mention before, when I fish these deep diving plugs, I want to have braid on my reel. The braid digs and gets it down there. If you fish them with mono, it's not going to dig. I like to have a fluorocarbon leader, about a 30-foot leader, and attached to the front of this. You got to have
make a big difference if it's braid.
Oh yeah, so but you got to have the braid instead of like mono on your reel, because it gets it down there deep. If not, it's not going to get to the depth it needs to get to.
So whereas normally you might be 50-50 mono braid, now you might be almost braid all the way up until you get to your leader.
Exactly, all the way braid until I get to my little 30-foot section or 20-foot section fluorocarbon leader too.
Okay, That's tremendous. Okay, so we've talked about a few here. Now we got a different look with this guy from Shimano. Tell us about it.
So Shimano makes this. This is the Orca Pop.
The Orca Pop. So that design is called a pop design?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like it's a tuna popper. This is a 150. I think they make a 120. They make a couple different sizes, but this is to imitate a flying fish. In this area, a lot of times, we'll fly the kite if we have wind to fly the kite with artificial flying fish. But days we don't have enough wind to fly the kite, when tuners are jumping, eating flying fish, we'll go with spinners and we'll cast to them. And that's when this Orca Pop.
So first you want to find the school, right? And if you can see them on the top of the water, we're going to pull out the Orca at that point and cast into them.
When tuners are eating on top and feeding on top, I mean, if any kind of popper close to this usually already makes a bull pop that works good. But this is my favorite, the Orca Pop. And the Shimano makes, and it really gets a good pop and sprays water, and they can't stand it. Yellowfins absolutely
they go crazy.
it.
I haven't experienced that yet, and I'm just dying to. Dumb question probably from me, but when you cast into them with a popper like this, or a pop like this, is there a jig technique that you use? It is a straight just reel back?
So I hit the water, come tight, pop it, pause.
So that's where the pop comes from.
Pause.
It's almost like it's just that pop technique. Okay, now I understand why it's called.
But that
pop.
thing, it has a hole in the top and it sprays water out the top of it. It gives a really good pop. They can't stand it. You'll have to do it this summer.
All right, man, I can't wait, fun. Man. All right, I'm ready to start popping, y'all. Okay, so one more here. Tell us about this.
And this is a sea witch. Probably every boat in this region, this is their #1 go-to bait.
Yes.
Day in and day out, it catches anything out there. Wahoo, white marlin, sailfish, blue marlin, yellowfin, big eye, everything eats this. We sell them. I have my guys custom make these, every color in the rainbow, and you can put a ballyhoo behind it, which most guys do. But what I want to show you guys today is you can also put a Ron Z behind it. Say, like this year, we're having a ballyhoo shortage. I hope it doesn't come to this, but it may come to the point in time where there's not enough ballyhoos for everybody, and which is crazy to even think about that. But what we do is we put a Ron Z, it's like a little worm tail, right behind this thing, and you pull it just like this, and you'll have your hook coming out of here. And that thing, that worm tail goes through the water.
Man, I can see that.
Oh man, and they kill it.
Yeah.
Save you money on bait. You get a bite and miss it, or come back and hit it again. It's not like it's eating half a ballyhoo. But a sea witch to a ballyhoo, or a sea witch to a Ron Z. Pretty neat way to catch them. You just troll them back there at your 6.5, 7 knots like you normally would.
Oh man, this has been great. So we've talked about some of the deep diving plugs, I guess is what we called it, right?
Yep.
And we talked about the pop, and we talked about the sea witch, and anything else they should be thinking about when they're just thinking about the bait that they're using. Somebody wants to catch those yellowfin, those big eyes. Anything else that you want to mention before we close this one out?
One thing I would say is, these companies make several different colors. I like to have several different colors because it's going to depend on the watercolor that day, or what they're feeding on that day, which one we like the best. So I'll try one, and if that doesn't work, I'll kind of rotate around my colors to figure out which color they may want. Like my sea witches, I probably have 15 or 20 different color sea witches in my box, and each day a different bait is hot. So it's nice to have different colors and different ones instead of just depending on to hit the one color if you only have one color bait.
Well, I tell you what, Jimmy, this was incredibly helpful. And what's cool is this is the type of service and education you get when you come into Oceans East here in Nags Head. It's why we appreciate these guys. We love them. They're literally less than a mile away from Pirates Cove, which is where Speechless is located. And so if you're in the Outer Banks area, make sure you stop by here at Oceans East, or you can just call and they'll send you, you send everything, entire orders of all rods, all reels, all bait. You can do as little or as much as they want. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, and a lot of our customers, from up north or wherever, they'll call and say, hey, create me your perfect ideal tuna spread, and this is the color water we normally fish, and send it to me, and I'll rig it, or I'll get my guys to rig it, and we'll have a complete spread. All they need to do is take out the box and clip it on and go fishing. So that we do a lot of that customized stuff. Whatever anybody wants, we'll make it happen for them.
That's awesome. And when he says my guys, it's like 16 years on a charter boat yourself, and your guys, most of them have ton of experience fishing, other previous charter mates and whatnot. And so unbelievable knowledge, and hopefully now your knowledge is greater, and you're enjoying these videos here with Ocean East. So again, make sure you stop by, see us at Pirates Cove, come join us on a charter where we can actually try some of these baits, y'all. And so until the next time, everyone, stay salty.